Yo, what it do, wealth champions? Y'all know what it is, man. It is time for the Cortez Hustle Show Friday edition. So, what does that mean, Friday edition? That means we focus on Black economic empowerment on Friday. And I'm a solutions guy, man. So, we focus on solutions, right? We know what's going on in Minneapolis and the wake of all of this, man, I think we got to focus on the money, our own economics, if we're going to ever determine who polices our communities. We got to first own and control those communities. So, today's show, we're going to focus on the solutions. How do we get to the place where we control our own economy, we own and control our own communities so that we can dictate who polices those? I've got a short interview clip that I want to play for you guys from the great Dr. Claude Anderson, and he's going to talk about that five-story building. And then we're going to get into how do we build that five-story building, starting where we are right now. So let's roll the intro.
It up, put the hip shit on the shelf. Cause the way the real wealth is being real with self. My eyes done seen the glory of the coming of the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help. It's time to switch it up, put the hip shit on the shelf. Cause the way the real wealth is being real with self. My eyes done seen the glory of the coming of the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help.
Money, money, money. That's all he
Guys,
talks
there's
about.
nothing
Is
wrong with
money.
being wealthy.
Like Kanye West says, having money is not everything, not having it is. No, Deuteronomy 8:18 says God gives us the ability to create
Money
wealth.
is the root of all.
No, it's the love of money that's the root of all evil.
All my money. Oh, kid.
Yes, I do think about other things than money.
Money.
I'm just trying to leave a legacy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cortez Hustle Show. We are live and direct from the Monetize My Life studios here in St. Louis, Missouri. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you, like I know you do, have a gift, talent, or special ability that God blessed you with, and you're struggling with how do I turn this gift, this talent, this expertise, this knowledge into income, you need to get yourselves a copy of my book, Monetize My Life. Four incredibly simple ways to turn your passions into profit with little to no startup cost. All you got to do is go to monetizemylifenow.com. The book is yours free. All you do is cover the cost of shipping. And I'm going to get that right out to you, ladies and gentlemen. Do me a huge favor. I want to give you guys a free shout out this morning. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Also, drop the name of your business and or your brand. And let's talk solutions today, man. If you are not here to talk about solutions, then withhold your comments until our Monday show, right? But today it's all about solutions. And I believe, like Dr. Claude Anderson, that the solution has to be based in our economic development. Ladies and gentlemen, because we have such a weak economic base as a collective unit when it comes to our people, that's why we literally have other cultures put their knee on our neck, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not one to tell anybody how to express their anger or their frustrations, right? I know what's going on up in Minnesota. They are looting, they are burning things down, they are mad as hell. How do I know so well? Because the same thing happened here in St. Louis, right over in Ferguson, less than 5 minutes from where I live. That whole scenario went down after Darren Wilson killed Mike Brown. So I understand fundamentally well what's going on, but I also know that what's going on has a lot to do with our economic state as a people, as a community. And if we don't address that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue to have these uprisings. Um, and I want you to understand what happens in an uprising. And I don't think we understand this. Yeah, we're going to burn some stuff down, but the places that we're burning down got insurance. So they're going to rebuild. And I know maybe it helps, you with the anger that you feel behind these things, man. Um, and like I said, I can't tell a person how to express that frustration, that anger, that sadness, that fear, that sense of oppression, that sense of voicelessness. I know all of that stuff is very, very serious, and I don't take it lightly, and I can't tell you how to express that. What I do recommend, though, is let's look at where we are economically. Let's look at some things that we could do. Let's look at instituting after you've gotten mad, right? I heard a gentleman yesterday during one of the press conferences. He made a very good point. He said, "Listen, man, what we're doing and burning down a lot of the infrastructure in our own community is like when you get mad, right, in your house, and you get so mad that you punch a hole in the wall, or you get so mad that you break a bunch of stuff in your house, right? What happens when that anger subsides? What happens when you are no longer mad? You've calmed down. Now you got a bunch of destruction. Now you got some holes in your wall that you got to go and patch up, right? I'm not saying I can tell you how to express your anger. What I am saying is we need to look at some long-term, permanent solutions if we are ever going to fix this situation. What we keep trying to do is put a band-aid on a bullet wound, and that's not going to help anything long term, right? Eventually, you have to peel that band-aid off. You have to dig into that wound. You have to pull that bullet out. You have to use some antiseptics to kill the bacteria so it don't get infected. Then you got to sew that thing up and allow time to heal it, right? Doesn't seem like the power structure in this company wants to peel the band-aid off that they put over the bullet wound called racism in this country, dig deep down into that wound and pull out that slug that's causing all the problems. They don't want to pour in the alcohol to alleviate any chance of infection. They don't want to sew that thing up and allow time to heal it. They just want to keep patching that thing over, right? So we can't focus on what any and everybody else is doing. We have to take control over the things that we can take control over and allow ourselves to build ourselves up. And that's what I want to focus on today, ladies and gentlemen. So go ahead and comment in the chat where you're from, the name of your business and or your brand. Sultry Sounds Enterprises Inc. is in the building from Augusta, Georgia. Welcome, welcome. Miss Moon is on watching. Don't hesitate to let us know where you are, where you're tuning in from. Let me jump over and grab my my YouTube, and make sure that I'm not missing any comments over there as well. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get into a video. I found an interview that Dr. Claude Anderson put out, and I like Dr. Claude Anderson's approach because his approach is all about us, right? What can we do to help alleviate these situations? And I think wholeheartedly, guys, until we own and control the communities we live in, we can never dictate who polices them. And that's what economics can do for us. We get our money right, then we can determine who polices our community based on us owning and controlling those communities. So let me cut over to this clip, man. I think you guys are going to like this. This is one of my favorite clips. He talks about what can be done or what should be done, and then we're going to come back and have an open dialogue about how to get it done, right? He's going to say the what, and then I'm going to come back and give you some ideas on the how. So let's cut into that video right now.
There's a direct relationship between having the businesses and being in prison. Go find see how many Asians you can find in American prisons. You ain't gonna be in there. But 51% of your prisoners will be black because blacks don't have any businesses and industries. There's a direct link. Blacks won't practice group economics. Blacks won't practice group politics. If you don't practice, you're setting yourselves up. I told that 5-story building, you're setting yourself to get wiped out. Understand the nature of race, which is economics. If you build the first floor, it's economic. Build your businesses and your industries. Control business and industry, and put that pools in your money, and hold that money, and practice group economics with it. Arab and Asian money bounces 12 to 13 times what it leaves. Jewish money bounces 18 times. Black folk got to learn how to practice group economics. Black Americans spend every penny they get outside their own community. Then you take the money and the wealth that you get from that first floor and go to the second floor. The second floor is politics. You then take that money on the first floor and you control your politics. Black folk must quit allowing people to tell them to go out and vote. Vote for what? Nobody's going to do anything for black folk in politics. Politics is controlled by money, major corporations who got the money. That's what controls politics. If you have no money, you have no say-so, you have no benefits coming. So you take your money and you control, and you take your money from the first floor, you buy every politician on the second floor. And then the politician you can't buy, you rent or lease them to get what you need. Then once you get the second floor under control with your politician, with your money, then you go to the third floor. The third floor then is the police department and the court system. You take your money from the first floor and your politics on the second floor, and you control the court system and the police departments. Then the fourth floor, then is media. You then take the money that you generate off the first floor from business and industries, and you go after radio stations, TV stations, newspapers, and cable systems, so that you can now inform and communicate with your own people. Right now, black folk own and control less than 35 thousandths of 1% of the media in the United States. Out of 12,000 radio stations, black folk own about 75, 80. That's all. You own no cable systems. You don't have a daily newspaper. You have nothing of importance. You got about one black TV station. So you can't communicate with your people, you can't inform your people, you can't do anything. You can have Rush Limbaugh and all the rest of the guys talking about racism all day long and bad-mouthing you, and O'Reilly's. They can call black folk all kind of names all day long. What are you gonna do? You can't respond. You can't communicate with your own people because you don't have an economic base. 51% of all the prisoners in the United States are black people. You only make up 12% of the population. That's no accident. It's because you don't control the economics and the politics. And they're gonna go after the weakest people they can get their hands on to incarcerate them. That's the black folk. And what are you gonna do in response to them when they over incarcerate you? You're gonna go out and have a march, a demonstration. We're gonna march. March for what? Who cares? Marching, they never changed anything.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cortez Hustle Show. That's my man, Dr. Claude Anderson, and I think he's right. And I want to say this, man, because a lot of times when we start talking about Black economic empowerment, and we start talking do for self, and we start talking stand up, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, then a lot of white people in other cultures tend to believe that we are preaching hate. I want you guys to understand something very, very clearly, ladies and gentlemen. Because I love me does not mean I hate anybody else. I want y'all to get that clear. And I think I saw a clip where Denzel Washington talked about that very thing when we were comparing Martin Luther King's ideology and his philosophy on the nonviolent approach to getting some of the civil rights bills passed and that sort of thing, and Malcolm X's ideology and some of his methodologies and philosophies about what it's going to take in order for us to stand up, right? And Denzel Washington made a very clear point on, we tend to talk to and about the person who's fighting back about being violent and not the person who's attacking them in the first place. So I want guys to understand that this is not an anti-white thing. This is not a let's hate everybody and all of that kind of stuff. No, this is me loving me, and I can love me without hating you. And if you guys notice in that clip, Dr. Anderson, we talked about a 5-story building, and he only gave 4 stories. He gave money, economic base, he gave politics, he gave police and the courts, he gave media, but the 5th level of that floor is education, right? And a lot of us, we've got that thing flipped upside down. We're trying to get out of these situations and the circumstances of what we're doing through education without an economic base first. But here's what education first is done for us. And let's be clear, this is not a bash on education and seeking higher knowledge and empowering yourselves through knowledge and wisdom. This is not a bash on that. But here's what happens when we go and get education. Most of us have to do that via student loans, right? And then once we gain those student loans, we are then get that degree and we have to go get gainfully employed, right? But that gainful employment usually comes with a difference in pay based on the same level of work in the same positions. Blacks in America make about 56 cents on every dollar compared to their white counterparts. So I went to school and I got the same loans that they got to get their degree, and I went out and I got the same job that they are working on with said degree, with same skills, but I make 56 cents on every dollar compared to them. So how much easier is it for them to get out from under the student loan debt versus me, because I'm making less money, all because of the color of my skin? So what Dr. Anderson is saying is, hey, what happens if we lay our own economic foundation first and foremost? What happens when we start building our businesses? What happens when we start creating industry and institutions to hire our own people in our own communities? We build our own tax base. We create jobs for ourselves. That's the beginning. And the education is the 5th floor. Why? Because we need to know what to educate our people on. See, we get our money foundation right. We get our politics right. We get our police and our court systems right. We get our media right. And now we know what to educate our children on. We educate our children on our system of community. That's what every other culture does, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, if you are of the Jewish race, yes, if you are of the Asian race, yes, if you are of the Arab race, yes, if you are the white race, you're going to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. But what else are you going to learn? In fact, what are you going to learn first and foremost? You're going to learn your culture. You're going to learn your culture first. See, we haven't developed and established a culture. And putting education first means we go and learn about everybody else's culture. And then we try to take what we learned about every else's culture and we try to implement that, and we get frustrated when we realize that it doesn't work for us. Just like when other cultures try to learn our culture and they try to make it work for them, it doesn't work for them. So let's talk about how do we lay the foundation for this money thing, this economic thing. And I know the first thing that people tend to bring up to me is Cortez. We don't get the same lending opportunities as our Asian counterparts, our white counterparts, our Arab counterparts. When they come over to this country, they get loans and man, kill all that noise. Why do I say kill all that noise? Because you can build a business without that. See, we try to put the cart before the horse. No, you can build a business without financing. Will you ultimately need financing to scale the business? Without a doubt. Can business credit help you? Without a doubt. But what we're doing is we're using that as an excuse to not even start. We will use that as an excuse to not even start the business. Hey, I ain't gonna be able to get no business loan, so I can't start. Let's go back to some of our brothers in the hood. Some of the greatest entrepreneurs that have ever graced this planet, or some of the hustlers that are doing it illegally. And we're talking about people who have a understanding and a sense that says, hey, if I can take $20 and buy $20 worth of illegal substance, turn around and sell that $20 worth of illegal substance for $30, then I come back and I don't bring back $20 and buy another 20 and go spend the other 10. No, I bring back the whole 30. And then I buy more of that product. Then I turn around and I sell it all. And then I come back. I don't bring back half the money because I went and spent some of the other money. No, I bring back all the money, right? They talk about double up. I don't care what business you're looking to run, you can get started where you are right now and you can double up. And you can keep doubling up till you have your revenue up. And if you can't get a loan to build a business, then you keep doubling up. You stop using that as an excuse that I can't get a business loan. So they're not lending us no money, Cortez. Yes, they will lend us money to buy a car and buy a house, but they won't lend us money to start a business. Listen, man, I'm not saying that's right. What I'm saying is that can't stop you. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I don't understand that exists. What I'm asking, though, is how long are we going to let that be the reason or the excuse that we don't persevere? Come on, man. We have always historically been the people who have done great things with the least. So you telling me because you can't get a business loan, you can't grow a business from scratch? Come on, man. I'm not trying to hear that, right? The other thing that we have to get over is our unwillingness to partner. Okay, I can't get a loan. I don't have the money to start, but I have the idea, I have the drive, I have the passion, I have the work ethic. My brother over here works a good job. He's not business inclined. He makes six figures. He has, $5,000 worth of discretionary income every single month. Then why come your brother can't invest in your business? See, we are the type of people that for some reason we despise humble beginnings. We don't want to start where we are with what we have. And as a result, we keep twiddling our thumbs waiting on some sort of handout. And it doesn't take that, right? Let me talk about this real quick. We talked about the fact that Minnesota is on fire right now, right? Literally, right? They set fire to the police station last night. But guess what? All of those buildings that are burning, they got insurance. And when you're in a heavily populated Black community, it would not surprise me if they have a riot coverage rider attached to the policy where they get double the money if their property get damaged because of a riot. That would not surprise me one bit. Like you live in certain areas where it's not really prone to flood, but they charge you flood insurance anyway. And if you happen to have loss of property because of a flood, then you get a little bit more money. They're saying that it's a 1 in a million chance that your property can get burned down or destroyed because of a riot. But because you are within a rock's throw of a Black community, perhaps we can charge you an extra $20 a month on your premium for riot coverage. And if you should so happen to receive damage to your property because of a riot, then you will get double the claim, right? That's how insurance companies work. That's how they make money. They try to get you to pay for something that they would never end up paying out on. And all of that money, they invest that money and they get infinite returns on that money. I'm just saying, I don't know that to be true, but it would not surprise me. Speaking of insurance, right? It's another opportunity that a lot of us are asleep on because we don't understand economics. We refuse to study how money really works in this country. I want you guys to all go and do your research on infinite banking concept. Infinite banking concept. I want you to all go do your research on that today. That's your homework for today. And if you have not already hit the share button, man, for this show, shame on you. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube and you have not hit the share button just yet, shame on you. Because if you guys don't share it, Facebook is going to read the topic and they're going to say, no, that could be potentially hate speech, so we're not going to show it to a whole bunch of people. But go ahead and hit the share button if you have not already. But your homework, go do your research on infinite banking concept. And I'll give you what I know about it. I'm still in research mode. I do have someone that I'm close to who's helping me structure my policies and things of that nature. But what infinite banking says is if you purchase a whole life insurance policy from a mutual company and your policy is structured for cash, it will allow you to kill two birds with one stone. Now, that's an interesting saying. Where did that come from? And who's trying to kill birds anyway? And you're trying to kill two with one stone. Nevertheless, it allows you to kill two birds with one stone. Why? In our community, historically, we are always underinsured. And when someone dies prematurely, then we have to have fish fries, we have to do GoFundMes, we have to collect money from everybody in the family to bury those people, right? Because we don't believe in the power of insurance. Now, let's be clear about something, man. We know we have reason to, there is a root in why we don't believe in those types of institutions, right? We've had banking situations where all of our money was stolen from us and we didn't have any restitution coming from FDIC or federal government and things of that nature. So we understand why, but come on, man, you got to get you some life insurance. But a whole life policy from a mutual dividend paying company structured for cash, what that allows you to do is get you a death benefit so money comes to your family to bury you, but it's also a way to save money where you have access to capital. So for instance, I see Miss Moon is on and she's a good friend of the show, right? If Miss Moon had her $100,000 policy that she was paying on every month and it was structured for cash, that means her cash value is growing faster than her death benefit, because when we're looking at death benefit, we're not thinking about this insurance policy as the wealth transfer that most term insurances are thought of, right? When you think about a term insurance, you're paying a small premium, and if something happens and you die within that term, then your family is going to get a huge lump sum paid out, right? We are talking in different terms. We are looking to build cash value in a policy so we can create access to capital. In other words, we become our own bank. So if Ms. Moon and I, and Tanya and I, who's watching the show right now on Facebook, and she had a $100,000 policy, I have a $100,000 policy, and Tanya has a $100,000 policy built in the infinite banking concept way. That means we have death benefit coverage, but we also have access to that money, and we don't have to go and beg or get a credit report run on us to get a loan because we're borrowing money from our own bank. And we have an opportunity to buy $1 million property that's going to kick out $40,000 per month in rent payments, all we need is $150,000 down. Well, guess what? We all got $100,000 policy in our own banking system that we can borrow from. We come together, we form an LLC. Tanya goes and takes and borrows $50,000 from her policy. I go borrow $50,000 from my policy. Miss Moon goes and borrow $50,000 from her policy, and boom, we got a $150,000 down payment to buy this $1 million property that's going to kick us out a $40,000 per month cash flow. See, we don't have to keep crying about what the banks will and will not do for us. We have to become financially literate, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we need to do. We have to focus on empowering our communities economically, right? So one way to kill two birds with one stone is look at concepts like infinite banking. Look at concepts like private reserve bank accounts, right? Look at concepts like how to use credit to buy assets, right? And we start building. So when you use something like the infinite banking concept, we are protecting our legacies because our families will not have to come up with $15,000 to bury us. That's in our death benefit and our life insurance policy. So we got to have that anyway. So why not have one that we can also use to build from, right? One way to kill two birds with one stone. What's another way, Cortez? How about we gentrify our own neighborhoods? See, that's another way that we can kill two birds with one stone. See, if we don't own the communities where we live, we can't dictate who polices them. But if we start coming together, building our own banks, creating our own accesses to capital, using our credit, because let's be clear about something. While banks won't lend to us historically for business opportunities and investments, they will give you a credit card. Problem with that, though, is you will take that credit card and you'll go buy a bunch of liabilities. On Monday's show, I have the Queen of Credit, Latanya Deloach, on talking about that in detail, right? They will give us a credit card, but we'll take that credit card and instead of using that to invest or to buy some sort of asset that's going to bring us more cash, we'll take that credit card and we'll go charge some J's. We'll go charge a nice handbag, ladies. We'll go charge a vacation. And then we'll come back and we'll cry about a lack of access to capital to start a business. I got a friend who joined me in business just probably somewhere around February, right? It's $228 to partner with me in business. I have a financial education franchise that pays daily, and we help people build wealth all over the country, right? $228 to get started. This is the power of what we call an infinite return. He took his credit card and he swiped it to get started for $228, right? And then it's $119 per month to maintain your business with us because we give you your website, we give you your capture pages and all that kind of stuff, right? But so $228 and then $119 per month is his automatic payment every month. Within 30 days of getting active in the business, he locked in a $600 per month guaranteed residual income. That's what we call an infinite return. See, because once the original 228 came back to his credit card, he paid that off, put it back on his credit card. 119 per month is being charged to his credit card, but he's getting a $600 per month deposit into his bank account. So that's $480 per month in profit or infinite return. Why? Because he used somebody else's money to start the business in the first place. But we would rather complain about not being able to get along. Other cultures use something called socioeconomics, where they all put money in a pot, right? Killing two birds with one stone. What if we could build a small business to where we have, I don't know, $1,000 per month in discretionary income? And what if 1,000 of us got together and said, "Hey, man, I got $1,000 a month, man. Let's put our money together." Because that's what socioeconomics says. It says everybody puts a certain amount of money in every time they get paid, and then everybody is able to qualify for a loan. We get to borrow from this pot. And once you borrow from the pot, you go to the end of the line, you make your payments back on time, and when it's your turn to come again, you can borrow from the pot, right? What if I built my business team to the tune of 1,000 people in the St. Louis metro area, and we all got these businesses, and we've all got our legacies are already taken care of, our insurance policies are paid up, our family has got buku money stored away, and we just said, "Hey, we've got $1,000 a month, man, to contribute to some sort of cause to help us rebuild our community." Well, if 1,000 people were doing that, that's 1,000 times 1,000, which is 1 million every month. See, in some places in St. Louis, the cities are so run down, the areas are so run down that we can buy 10 square blocks with that $1 million per month. So month one, we go and buy those 10 square blocks. And this is what Dr. Claude Anderson was talking about. Build an economic base. Month one, we go in and we buy $1 million worth of properties, however many properties we can get for that $1 million, but we concentrate it in a single area. See, this is another problem that we have because we are so competition driven. We think that we can't have a community of businesses and shops near each other. I'm going to start a restaurant. I've got to go way out on the other side of town and start my restaurant because so and so has his restaurant right here. And we're watching how commerce is done. We're watching how businesses really do it. We watch how everywhere there's a McDonald's within a 1 mile radius, there's also a Burger King, there's also a Wendy's, there's also a Jack in the Box. And they all sell the same stuff. But when we decide to open up a business, we can't open up a business next to our brother and our sister. We've got to go across town because we don't want to be near one another. Not realizing that people shop based on convenience. So when I come to an area and there's 4, 5, 6, 7 businesses there that I need, then I'm more likely to keep coming back to that area because convenience says I can get all of this stuff done in one fell swoop instead of me coming to the Black community on this side of town for the restaurant, going all the way across town for the Black dry cleaners, going to another part of town to the Black auto mechanic to get my tires rotated, going to yet another part of town. Got to build economic community. So we had that $1 million. We will buy as many properties as we can get in a centralized location, in a condensed location. Why? Because we're trying to build a community, an economic base in one particular area. Next month, we got another $1 million. What do we do with that? Well, we go in and we start the demolition process. Some buildings are going to be restored. Some buildings have to just flat out be torn down. And we got $1 million to get it done. That means we can contract with who? The people who live in that community. And we give them jobs. We hire those people. Right? And guess what? Whenever you dump a bunch of money into a community in terms of jobs and steady paychecks, those communities are going to want to spend that money somewhere. Now we start building businesses around that community to service those people. We gave them a job where they have to do demolition work. They have to do boarding up properties as we get ready to fix them up. They got to go cut the grass and all that stuff. Those people are going to want to eat something. So that's how you rebuild and invest in the restaurants in that community. And if there aren't any, you build them. See, we killed two birds with one stone by looking into infinite banking. We get insured, so that's a wealth transfer if we die unexpectedly, but then also that's access to capital for us to continue to build. We kill two birds with one stone when we build our own institutions. We build our own communities. We gentrify our own neighborhoods, right? Let's stop waiting. We watch that old school sit in our neighborhood closed down for 30 years. And then when somebody comes and buys it and they fix it up and they turn it into an apartment building or they turn it into some sort of office building, we're mad at them. But we've watched that property and 10 of us never got together and said, hey man, let's start saving $100 a week for the next 3 years. And in 3 years, while we're doing that, we're going to put our proposal together. We're going to determine what we're going to do with this building when we acquire it. But first, we got to put our money together so we have the capital to purchase it. So everybody make a pact to save this money for 3 years. We're going to have X amount of dollars at the end of the 3 years, and we're going to go buy this commercial building where we know ain't nothing going on in there but drugs, prostitution, and let's get rid of some of these eyesores in our own community. Eyesores, rather, in our own community. So you have an economic base. That's first. Then you take your money and you buy your politicians. I agree with Dr. Claude Anderson wholeheartedly, man. We can vote all we want to, but power follows money. We wonder why we always vote for Democratic parties, but they tend to go and serve other people's needs and never ours. Well, it's simple. Because we voted for the campaign or the people, but somebody else financed that campaign. So who are the politicians actually beholden to? See, if somebody didn't put the money up for them to run their ads and for them to promise us what they were going to do, then we would have never voted for them in the first place. So are they beholden to the people who voted for them? Or are they beholden to the people who financed the campaign that allowed them to secure the votes? So when we buy up this neighborhood and we create all of these businesses and we create our chamber of commerce and we get all the business people together, we start talking about what it is we want to see in this community. Okay, here's what we want to see in this community. Here's the policies, here's the laws, here's what it is we want to see in this community. Then we go out and we find a politician who's going to be able to deliver on that, and we finance his campaign. And then we go and find the politician on the other side of the aisle, the person in the other party who's also going to deliver on this campaign. And we finance both of them so we don't lose. That's what y'all don't get, man. Corporate America will finance a Republican and a Democrat. So whoever wins, they owe me a favor. We don't have money to finance anybody. Yeah, President Barack Obama raised a lot of money in our communities, but he raised it from individuals. Individual people were contributing $50 here, $100 here, $500 here, never as a collective unit. You know who the collective units were who did finance his campaign? The gay rights community put all of their money in one pot and they threw it behind President Barack Obama. Corporations created super PACs. They put all of their money in one pot and said, hey, we want these laws changed. We want this to happen with the tax code. We want this to happen with this industry and that industry. And they created super PACs and put money into his campaign. We got to understand that politics is about money, not about votes, y'all. Go to the nearest Asian community where you live. They have some of the lowest voter turnouts in all of history. They got everything they need, though. Why? Because I don't have to have my people to vote for you when I put $1 million into your campaign. That $1 million will help you go secure the votes that you need to secure, but you owe me. Then he talked about police in the courts. Let's be clear who the police really work for. Let's be clear what this thing, where it started from, right? Historically, the police departments came from the bounty hunters who chased down and recaptured slaves. It was all about property protection. It's all about property protection, ladies and gentlemen. So when you don't own no property, the police come into your neighborhood. They know that their paychecks come from the taxpayers, from the property owners. So immediately when they come into your neighborhood and you don't own any properties, they side with the property owners because they are there to protect property. So we have to own property in the communities where we live. And when you own the properties in the communities where you live, those are your tax dollars. Now you have a say as to who polices those communities. You have a say, and you start sitting on the right boards, and you start attending the right meetings, and you start looking at who they want to bring in as a police chief, and you're like, no, not today. Not today. You start looking at who they want to promote to sergeant and lieutenant, and you're like, no, not today. You might even bring back the policy that says if you're going to be a police in this community, you actually have to live in this community. How about that one? See, they used to have a policy that says if you want to be a police in a particular community, you have to live in that community. Let me ask you a question. If everybody in the community, if I'm a police officer and everybody in the community knows where I live, if I'm a police officer and everybody in the community knows my wife, knows my children, because I'm a part of this community, how likely am I to pull my weapon out and kill somebody's kid in that community unjustly? I want you to think about that. If I live in the community and I'm a police officer who lives in this community, my kids go to the same school with your kids. My kids play on the same sports team as your kids because I'm in the community. How likely am I to pull my gun out and kill your kid unjustly? How likely am I to inhumanely put my knee on the back of your child's head for 11 minutes, 9 minutes, whatever it is, and everybody in the community knows where I live? Everybody in the community knows my wife, knows my children. Brother Henry says not likely, very unlikely. But when you don't own where you live, you can't create, or even, you're not even in the room when those decisions are being made. So we go back. Money is first. We create industries. And when we create industries, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to start looking at creating industries and owning from raw material to retail. I want you to put that in the comments. From raw material to retail. Now, can it start out like this immediately? Probably not. But that should be the goal, right? Right now, somebody else is sourcing raw material. Okay, so we buy the raw material from other cultures, but we start figuring out where are they getting the raw materials from, right? We start looking at industry not as, hey, it's cool that I can go buy some products wholesale, I can put them in my store, Especially now, I can put them in my e-commerce store online and I can make me a quick buck. That's cool. That's a start, but that can't be the finish. That's a start, but that can't be the finish. But you know why that's the start? You know why we can't take it that far? Because usually, if I'm going to go from wholesaling, buying wholesale and retailing, and I want to become the wholesaler, usually to become the wholesaler, I'm going to have to partner with somebody to make that happen. And if I have to partner with somebody, that means I have to tell somebody else where my source is. And unlike other cultures that trying to dominate the game as a culture, we're trying to dominate the game as an individual. So I don't want to tell somebody where my wholesale source is, even though me and this person can partner up and we can become the wholesaler. Right? But we don't want to do that because I want to own and control the game as an individual. We've got to get to the place where we start building institutions. Can't be about an individual. We got to start building institutions. See, we're fighting something called institutional racism. It's institutional, but we're fighting these institutions as an individual. We don't have institutions to fight on our behalf, right? I want y'all to think about something. I was looking at this, those of you who are into guns and owning guns for protection, right? There is a black organization called NAGA, and a lot of people can't get past the name, right? It is the National African American Gun Association, right? And first of all, people can't get past the name. So a lot of black people who are into guns and using guns as protection are not getting behind this institution. You know why they're not getting behind this institution? Because let me see if I can show you guys this site real quick. Now we're gonna break some stuff down, man. I know we only got a few minutes left, but I just want to show you. Let me see. Let me see if this will show. All right, so this is the National Association, the National African American Gun Association, which is NAGA. Some people say that's too close to the N word, so they can never support an organization like this, right? So it just basically helps to educate and support black people's Second Amendment right to own firearms. That's what it's about. But you know why we don't support this? A lot of us are not supporting this organization because we don't understand the difference between an organization and an institution. Right? I'm going to say that again, man, because I need y'all to get that. We don't understand the difference between an organization and an institution. See, whenever there is a mass shooting by a Caucasian and everybody starts to scream about gun rights and gun violence, right? There is an institution that shows up and defends the Second Amendment right of that individual. Y'all know that institution, right? Let me run that one back because I think y'all missing it. Whenever a mass shooting occurs, and it's usually done with an assault rifle where they take out a bunch of people at one time, and God bless the families that have to go through that and have gone through that. And the politicians I don't know the left and the right and conservative and liberal, and I don't know what any of that stuff means. But these people start voicing their concern about gun violence, and we need to get guns off the street. When that happens, there's an institution that steps up to the plate and defends everybody's right to own a gun. You guys recall what institution that is? It's called the NRA. So we see NAGA as an organization, but the NRA is an institution. Why can't we all get behind NAGA, who says, hey, Black people have the same Second Amendment rights as everybody else. So we want to teach them how to ethically own their own guns. We're going to teach them how to get certified for concealed and carry. We're going to teach them how to use these guns and protect their families. And then if something happens to where a Black man wants to get his guns taken or confiscated, then we have an institution that will show up and say, not today, colonizer. But we won't get behind anything long enough for it to become an institution. How long the NRA been around? Right? Let me just look that up real quick. How long has the NRA been around? A 148 years. 148 years this institution has been around. Come on, y'all. We got to understand the difference between organizations and institutions. And we got to decide which organizations we're going to grow into an institution because they got our best interests at heart. So we get our money right. How can we get our money right? You can start with a home-based business. Most people hate when I talk about this, but a home-based business allows you to legally lower your taxes. You take the money you save from taxes, then you get yourself out of debt. When you get yourself out of personal debt, a lot of times that means your credit score goes up. When your personal credit score goes up, you can now leverage personal credit to get business credit. Even if you're talking about getting business credit for a home-based business. Now you got access to more capital. That's one way you access capital, through your personal credit. You can start with a home-based business, bring in some extra revenue, right? Then we talk about infinite banking concept. Get the right kind of life insurance. Kills two birds with one stone, and it helps you with generational wealth transfer if you die unexpectedly, but it's also revenue and capital that you can access so that you don't miss opportunities. How many of you guys have seen come across your face an opportunity where you know it was going to create a lot of cash flow for you and your family, but you didn't have the initial 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand to take advantage or to seize the opportunity? The right life insurance can put you in position to do that. And shoot, God forbid you and your whole family get in the game. Now all of y'all got policies. All of y'all got the ability to put your hands on 10 grand at any given time. Come on, man. So we got to get our money right first. When we get our money right first, now we start building in our communities, the restaurants, the community centers, the education centers, the businesses, and we start building them within what's called a business district, ladies and gentlemen. No more dotting our restaurants, our dry cleaners, our Black-owned businesses all over the city because people shop with convenience. No, we build a business district so that everybody knows that if I'm going to spend money, today is Friday, I got my paycheck today, I'm going to one part of town where all of the Black-owned businesses are concentrated. And that's where I'm shopping at. Got to make it easy for people to spend money with us. And then those people who own the businesses, it's their job to take their money that we're spending with them to go out and buy the politicians. It's their job to take the money to invest in the media companies. Because here's what's powerful about media. When you can't communicate in mass, it's hard to organize in mass. And when you can't organize in mass, you can't mobilize in mass. Now, we're able to take advantage of social media to do this. But y'all already know that they're creating all sorts of filters and stuff so that even social media will not allow us to all see what's going on with one another. But if you had a black-owned radio station, a black-owned cable network in every city, several different black-owned media outlets in every city, right? You know what I think about? I think about a lot 9/11, and I know it's past 8 o'clock, like y'all, but I think about 9/11. I don't know if you guys remember and how many guys were really paying attention to media in 9/11. But when I tell you it took less than 12 hours for every media outlet in the world to be synchronized with the story that they told around 9/11, that's the power of media, ladies and gentlemen. Every media outlet around the world within 12 hours was synchronized with what they showed us, because that's control. What if we had our media outlets, and when we have a situation like what's going on right now with George Floyd, we can synchronize and put one message out, one call to action to our community. And then from the 5-story building, education is last. Why is education last? Because when you get your money and your economic system right, you get your political system right, what it is you guys stand for, what kind of policies and procedures you want to see in place in your community, you get your police and your court system squared away, then you get your media situation squared away. Now that's what's called your culture. Now your education system teaches and reinforces your culture. Your education system teaches and reinforces your culture. We are looking at education first. As a result of education first, we are learning everybody else's culture. That's why we're confused about our own. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in, man. If you do not have your copy of Monetize My Life, it's my best-selling book, 4 incredibly simple ways to turn your passions into profits. Go to monetizemylifenow.com, grab yourself a copy. It's free. All you got to do is cover shipping, and I'll get it right out to you. Appreciate you guys tuning in, man. This is not an easy conversation to have, but it's one that we must continue to have. I do not profess to have all the answers, but I'm trying to focus on solutions and not the problems. We got enough people focusing on the problems. Somebody's got to start talking solutions around here, and then somebody's got to start executing solutions. And believe it or not, I do more executing than I do talking, man. So until I talk to you guys next week, I want you to get your money up, because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. Now hustle up.